You're tuned in to Vocalo Radio, Chicago's urban alternative. I'm your host, Bekoe, the illest coming through your stereo. And this guest I have alongside me is a Grammy Award-winning artist, repping Atlanta, Georgia, my second home. But due to these high gas prices, I've been home as of lately. He's also an actor, most importantly, an activist who's not scared to get vocal. I like to call this man here a house speaker of hip hop. He goes by the name of Killer Mike. How you doing?
Shouts out to the Shy Man. Shouts out to the wonderful friends and associates I have up there, man, for my girl Kai, who does amazing party planning, and my girl Paris, who's a trucker from up there, Zoe, who's the owner of Uncomfortable Truth lifestyle clothing brand. I just got a lot of dope folks out of Chicago I've met over the years, and I appreciate y'all. Shouts out to my man TJ from freshman year Morehouse. Y'all got a great town up there.
Shout out to you sticking to these Chicago roots and showing love, my brother. We definitely appreciate it. Now, I want to ask you specifically, I called you the house speaker of hip hop. How do you feel about that title?
Those that are politically aware know that, when you have a house speaker, that's a leader amongst leaders. That's someone who the people elected to protect this republic. He or she is entrusted with their trust to lead this republic in the right way. And if hip hop is a community of people being loved and respected in a way that people would entrust me to speak on their behalf is a responsibility I take seriously. And it is a very humbling thing. So I really appreciate you, bro.
Before we get into your single run, let's actually talk about Run the Jewels, because
yes.
Run the Jewels formed in 2013, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. 9 years in.
And were you still under Grand Hustle when Run the Jewels formed?
Yeah, well, Tip, man, I gotta thank Tip, Jason Jeter, and the Grand Hustle family, from Hannah to Clay to Elliot to Dart. All those, they really embraced me at a time where I didn't have a home to go to. I didn't have a record company home of sorts. And because of SMC and Grand Hustle, I was able to put out I Pledge Allegiance to the Grind Part 2 and 3, which led me to the record deal with William Street Records, which allowed rap music to come out in addition to under the umbrella of Grand Hustle and William Street, which brought me to Run the Jewels and forming our own record company and collective and becoming one half of the greatest rap group in the world, I feel. We tour. We're opening for Rage Against the Machine the next 2 years. Rage Against the Machine, for those who may not be familiar with rock, is the outcast of rock and roll. They are a rock group that's loved by rap fans, alternative fans, pop fans. They are some of the most politically engaged and socially conscious guys out there, and they just make badass, dope music. And Run the Jewels does the same. They've asked us to come out and open for them, and we start on July 9th in Wisconsin.
Y'all heard that, Wisconsin. Get out there, get them tickets.
Chicago, too. We'll be in Chicago, I think, July the 11th. So
that's real soon.
I want fans to come out and support not only Run the Jewels, support not only Rage, but support, the people who are supporting what's happening in the streets at this time right now. Young people are getting active in their music. And if you look at the people that are engaged with artists like Kendrick and more, young people are listening to music, but they're active in the streets. One of the most encouraging things that happened from the protests in the streets in the last couple of years has been people hit me with Run the Jewels music playing in the back of these protests, knowing that our music is encouraging people to do the right thing by their fellow citizens. So I'm just honored to be one half of Run the Jewels. I'm humbled that people have supported us like they have, and we're going to continue the next 15, 20 years until we march into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Did you hear yourself? You said 15, 20. You already been in the game about 20 years. That's going to be 40.
It's like 20 years. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So I love the youth in you. You know what I'm saying? The youth and the longevity. And briefly to touch on Run the Jewels album 4, I love how you all put the instrumentals within the album. A lot of artists don't really touch on that anymore. Is there a specific reason why you and LP did that?
Man, I feel L is the greatest rap producer in the world. And I say that in big part because I see him just mechanically just drag himself over making sure the music is perfect and right. And then he has to do the same thing with a pad and a pen and write. You know what I mean? So for me, it's amazing to see someone who's that dedicated to the craft, and that type of dedication deserves merit. And sometimes words get in the way of the full experience. So putting the instrumentals on there is making sure not only do you hear us and feel the words, is making sure you hear and feel the detail of the music that goes into it as the backdrop.
You all been around 9 years. It's been about 10 years since you've put out a solo single. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what made you, say, all right, let me take some time to myself and get this single with you, Dave Chappelle, Young Thug, No ID. What was it that hit you that say, you know what, let me take some time to myself and put out a solo single?
Me and Dion have been trying to work. We were introduced by my friend Courtney Seals, Bear. People often see me with Bear. We were introduced over 15 years ago and grew to be fast friends and it formed a real brotherhood. So I'd always wanted to work with Dion on, and he produced a single, Ready, Set, Go for me years ago. That was on Pledge 3. But I always wanted to work with him again. Dave caught me at the back of one of his comedy shows and just gave me a stern talking to about why I should be running for governor of Georgia. And out of that came the inspiration for the song Run, which Dave told me, we don't care you smoke weed and like strippers. We care you tell us the truth. And at a time when other people aren't telling the truth, we need you as a leader, much to the same as you were saying on the intro of this record. This record also finds me cross-sectioning with, after having spent 2 weeks in the studio with Thug, just seeing the rock and roll, rap, and artistic genius he is, I now find myself with the single that he's on, and he's not out here to enjoy the fruits of that. Mm-hmm. He's an artist, in much the same way Chuck Berry and Little Richard were artists, in much the same way Howling Wolf and Muddy Waters was artists, Mama Thornton, in much the same way that Luke from the Luke and the Two Live Crew, who fought for our First Amendment rights against Broward County, was an artist. And right now, he, like many other Black artists, is being used as an example. And the courts are going to potentially use his words on a record. Records are things that we pretend that we invent and I use our imagination to embellish. They're going to attempt to use his words against him for what I feel like is a frivolous RICO case. So I want to just say I stand in solidarity with Thug and Gunna right now. I believe they should be out on bond, making music, making the community better, because just a year ago, they were freeing people who couldn't afford to bond themselves out of jail. They were bonding them out. So let's not forget that he's been an important part of this community past the music.
I mean, before I actually get into the production standpoint, I actually want to touch on lyrics real quick because in a recent article I was reading, you said hip hop is not respected as an art because Black people in the country are not recognized as full human beings. You also told ABC it's no more than Killer Mike saying I'm a killer on the mic. So with them, trying to, I'm gonna just say with this RICO case pending against Young Thug, and the old YSL team, how will this impact artists and how will this impact artists' creativity?
Well, usually laws disproportionately affect Black people worst and first. So before we get to the general artists, how's it going to affect Black artists? They're going to lock your Black ass up for any Black ass thing you say. You can say, man, I don't like this particular politician. They'd be better off dead. They're going to call that a threat, and they're going to lock your ass up for threatening that politician. That's just the truth of it. Whatever laws are enacted to restrict your amendments, to restrict your constitutional rights, will affect the people lowest on the caste system worst and first, and that is Black people. Now, it doesn't always make you comfortable that the KKK can go out and say, kill me, but without their right to say kill, you never get your right to say shoot back. So Noam Chomsky says those who do not want the First Amendment, for those that vehemently disagree with, do not want it at all. So the First Amendment is not always clean. It's not always to our liking. It can be ugly. It can be messy. It can lead to people in hoods calling you dumbass names. But what it can also lead to is for Malcolm X to give some of the greatest speeches I've ever heard in my life. For Martin, for James Baldwin, for Zora Neale Hurston, for Fannie Lou Hamer, to say some of the most freeing things I've ever heard in my life. And if we are robbed of that opportunity as artists, they will be at your door robbing you of that opportunity as a regular citizen next.
I think Dave Chappelle was right when he said you should run for governor, my brother. I mean, look, you mean what you say and you stand by the community, and it's needed. Absolutely. It's needed, especially here in this hip hop community. We need you, Mike. We need you, man.
I'm glad to be here and happy to be of service. I want to say, man, a lot of great influences come out of Chicago for me. My man, TJ Crawford is on the ground organizing there. Amina Matthews has done an amazing job of organizing and getting young brothers from different sets together to talk out their problems versus killing one another. I think that we should put definitely pressure on not only freeing Larry Hoover, but Jeffrey Fort. I think these men have served too much time in prison. I think they're radically different people than the people that were locked up. And I think that, to be very honest with you, at some point, we have to have empathy in our heart and grant clemency to these people, whether it's Mutulu Shakur, who should also be freed, Leonard Pelter, who should be freed, Assata Shakur should have been taken off the FBI's most wanted list while we had a Chicagoan in the highest office of presidency. So I just want to tell the people to continue to push for regular people, continue to not forget for the people who may have made mistakes earlier in their life, but redemption is possible and you don't have to die again.
And in lights of your single, continue running things, continue making things run, keep it running. Real. And they got some Chicago blood on there, produced by No Idea legend himself. I mean, before I get into this single, Killer Mike, let people know why this single is needed. Let people know how they can get this single, and again, when they can catch you in Chicago.
This single is your encouragement song. Every morning you wake your beautiful Black self up. This should be your encourager. Yeah, if you like me and you don't want to go walking, man, just play the song while you're walking. If you like me, you don't want to lift weights, play it while you're lifting weights, man. I'd have managed to shed a few pounds over, do a few more. But if you're in the community working, if you're going to that 9 to 5 with dreams are bigger, run toward it. Don't walk toward it. Don't allow yourself to lazy around. Get to it like you know you can do it and succeed. That is the only true thing that in this country, in the matters of African American people, no matter what stumbles we have come across, no matter what speed bumps, we've always remained running toward the right, running toward the good, and running toward the just. Let's continue to do that, and let's make sure we got some dope tunes to do it on, which I provided you for, in addition to Dave Chappelle and Thug with No ID under the beat.
Turn your radios up. It's a brand new single. It's called Run. It features one of my favorite comedians, Dave Chappelle. Young Thug. It's produced by Chicago's own No ID. It's called Run. You hear it right here on 91.1 FM.
Thank y'all.